Hey y'all. So hello everybody. I'm getting ready to do another episode on Girlfriend Let Me Tell You the podcast because I have something to say. And yes, I have on my Santa Claus shirt because we are in the month of December. Even though I do wear this shirt outside of the month of December. I'll tell y'all what happened. Before I came on here, one of my coworkers sent me a friend request. Block. Anyway, today's episode is going to be about being poor and making poor decisions. And I know somebody going to be able to relate to this because this is coming from a place of experience. I'm not just talking to be talking. So, the less money you have, the more clouded your judgment is, and the poorer your decisions are that you make. Okay. So, what I mean by that is whenever you don't have enough money to cover whatever it is you want, it could just be hobbies that you like to do. When you don't have enough money to cover that, you'll take on anything. You will hang with certain people because they invite you somewhere and you just want to be included. And you'll have people who will say, "Come on, I got you." And it sounds genuine depending on who it's coming from, but some people are setting you up for failure. In addition to that, whenever you are poor, there are some things that are handed to you or given to you, and you feel like this is as good as it gets, and it's not. So, before I got the job that I have right now, and before I moved into this apartment that I live in right now, I used to live in a place that was not as secure as this one, a place that wasn't as nice as this one. And I always felt like I was missing something. And I was missing money because I couldn't do a lot of things I wanted to do. And that's when I got used to just being at the house all the time. Before I had to move back home in 2018, before that, I feel like I was always out. I was always doing something. I was always, you know what I'm saying? Driving around, going to places, being around people, hanging out, all that stuff. And then I didn't have enough money to do that, and I had to come back home. So that's that on that. However, because I didn't have a lot of money, I ended up being on food stamps. I also had Medicaid for my son. Luckily, they granted me Medicaid too. That's how little money I had. Even I got approved for Medicaid because sometimes your kid can get approved, but you won't. So you just out here, no health care. You know what I'm saying? So because I had food stamps, I felt like, okay, I'll always have something to eat if I stay within the limits of how much food stamps I get per month, right? Also, because I had Medicaid, I will tell you this though. I didn't know this, but maybe this will help somebody. When you have Medicaid and you go to the dentist, when I went to the dentist, which was during the pandemic, every dentist visit was $3. Tenderism. Every visit was $3. Y'all, when I tell you I got feelings, I need a lot of them over here. I don't think I need that much over here. When I went in there, the lady said you need a deep cleaning. First, she said you need a cleaning. Then she said you need a deep cleaning. I was like, well, how much is that gonna cost? She was like, $3. I was like, for the whole visit, she was like, yeah, you have Medicaid. Hold on, y'all. I got this candle burning back here. She said, yes, you have Medicaid, so it's $3 per visit. I was like, okay, so I can get my whole mouth deep clean for $3. She said, no, you're gonna have to come in two visits. So they did one side because she said afterwards it's gonna hurt. She doesn't want your whole mouth hurt. And there was a little pain or aching, but I'm gonna tell you something. For $3, you don't even notice that. I got my left side deep cleaned, and she said my teeth were pretty, which I agree. And then I went back, paid another $3, got the other side deep clean. And then she said, you need some fillings. Well, how much is that? She said, $3 a visit. Went in, got some fillings over here, got some fillings over here. That was two different visits. Or maybe it was three, but I know it was more than one visit. Got my teeth cleaned, got me some fillings, mouth tasted better, mouth felt better. So if you have stinky breath or if your mouth feels dirty or something, or you just whatever, something's going on with your teeth and you have Medicaid, go to the dentist. Go to the dentist for that $3 a visit. And then again, you might have no charge whenever you go. But I went to the dentist I got my teeth cleaned and I got my feelings or whatever, and I felt good about that. However, because I had the food stamps, I felt like I don't want to lose these food stamps. And the crazy thing about it is, whenever you're on food stamps, you have to be careful about whenever you get a job, because you don't want a job that pays you um enough to get by, but too much to get off of food stamps. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying don't go out and get a job. What I'm saying is, whenever I didn't go get a job until my unemployment ran out, because remember, I was on food stamps during the pandemic. I was on food stamps during the pandemic and I had Medicaid, but my unemployment cut off and I had to get a job. Luckily, when I started working at Walmart, and that's the crazy thing too, when people work these jobs that pay like a little bit of money, because Walmart started me off with $12 an hour, which to somebody that sounds like a lot. To me, $12 an hour at 40 hours a week was enough to get by, simply because I wasn't paying any rent or anything, right? My granny let me live rent free. And no, I wasn't living off of my granny. No, I wasn't stealing nothing from her. She told me, I want you to stay here until you get on your feet. That's what I did. Granted, it took me 6 years to get on my feet. Okay. And I did a whole other episode about people who say, give me about 30 days or a couple weeks to get on my feet. I don't know what they're talking about, but it took me 6 years. 6 years that I went through 3 jobs, right? 3 jobs, 4 jobs, actually. The fourth job, which is the one I have now, is the one that got me out of my granny's house. However, whenever I was living there and I was on food stamps and I started working at Walmart, they hired me at $12 an hour, 40 hours a week. That first week I worked 40 hours. The second week I worked 40 hours. After that, they brought my schedule down to like 20 to $25, excuse me, 20 to 25 hours a week. Now, I lived about 20 hours. What in the world am I talking about? I lived about 20 minutes from Walmart. That's not far if you make a money. But they would have me on the schedule for like 4 hours. So for me to drive to work and then come back home after 4 hours, that wasn't even giving me gas money. You know what I'm saying? It was not giving me gas money at all. And then to do that about 5 days a week for 4 hours a day, no, that was not gas money. So I knew something had to happen. However, whenever I wasn't making any money, that meant I didn't have enough money to go out and have fun. I didn't have enough money to go out and buy whatever I wanted to buy, get a new outfit, go out and get something to eat. I had to rely on my food stamps. So in that case, with some people, I feel like if all I have is food stamps and all I can do is eat at the house, then if anybody offers to take me out to eat, I'm going. It might be somebody who claims they're taking me out on a date because they like me, when in actuality, they are a big red flag. However, a meal is a meal, right? I'm not saying everybody thinks like this, but when you don't have money and something that looks good or something that you've been wanting comes into your vision, comes into your reach, it's like, well, this might not happen again anytime soon. Let me go ahead and do it. Right? So you might go out on dates with people that you're not interested in. You might spend time with somebody that you don't like. Your type of person that you would date kind of changes, because not having money and not being able to do what you want to do could lower your self-esteem. So you start hanging with people that aren't in your best interest, like family members who talk trash about you, who make you the butt of the joke, but they invite you over for the cookouts. Is anybody experiencing that right now? Your family invites you over, but they make jokes about you. When you gonna get a job? Why you dressed like that? Have you eaten today? Oh, you couldn't bring anything to the cookout? That's fine. Just get you something to take home so you'll have something to eat later. You haven't done anything this week? You didn't go anywhere this week? Tell us about this. Are you dating anybody? How does it feel to not have your own place? When are you gonna it seems like you are the topic of every discussion and you seem to feel uncomfortable. And they know that they're making you feel uncomfortable. And nobody really cares because some people feel like, well, at least the attention is on her, or at least the attention is on him, and it's not on me. Because everybody has some mess going on with them. Y'all, my dog trying to eat my cord. Everybody has some mess going on with them. But as long as the attention is on somebody else, it's like, hey, I don't care. And then people who wouldn't normally join in on the bull crap start joining in. It's like, well, shoot, everybody else is doing it. And then you stay there because you might feel like, well, I got to get something to eat, or I do want to be involved. Nobody else is coming to see me. Nobody else is coming to hang with me or whatever. So I'll deal with this, whatever this is, I'll deal with it for a little while. And then when you get a little bit of money, you realize I don't have to come to the cookout. I don't have to sit around y'all. I don't have to wait for y'all to give me a ride. I don't have to wait for y'all to come see me. I don't have to show my clothes off when I do get enough money to go buy a new outfit. I don't have to show it off to y'all. Whenever I do get enough money to get some gas, I don't have to come around y'all. I don't have to do none of that stuff. And something else, whenever you don't have money, certain people won't come visit you neither. And that's something that I noticed. Like, I wasn't having company. Now, when I lived in Greensboro, people would come visit me here and there, and I had money and I would go visit people too. But now that I'm looking back, just during this episode that I look back, I visited people a whole lot more than they visited me. But whenever I did get some money and I moved into this apartment, everybody want to know where I was moving to. And I haven't told my family. Child, they might figure it out one day, but they don't know today where I live. And I've been here for over a year and a half. Whenever I was going through and people stopped visiting me, because I lived on a dirt road in a single wide trailer, and I'm very grateful for my granny, because again, I lived there for 6 years. During those 6 years, I kept the house as clean as I could, and I had to move out because it was filling up with black mold. But I kept the house as clean as I could. She had a washing machine and a clothes dryer, and at first the dryer didn't work. And later, like a couple years later, I found out it was because the prong, the outlet, the plug-in in the back was wrong. So instead of it facing to the left, it was facing to the right or whatever. It was one of those things that was facing the wrong way. So after about a year and a half, 2 years, I just went to Lowe's Hardware and got one and reinstalled it myself so I could use the clothes dryer. But up until that point, she had a clothesline in the backyard. So on the warmer and hotter days, I would just hang my clothes outside and let them dry. And I would use the washing machine. But while I was there, I changed the plug on the dryer. I kept the house clean. I decluttered. I built a new set of steps. It was some other stuff I did. I got the floor fixed whenever it got to it like had water damage and stuff. But I kept the house clean. Put a new handle on the storm door. But I kept the house clean, kept it up, right? And again, she let me live there 6 years. I didn't have to pay any rent. But while I didn't have any money, and it got to the point where I couldn't do anything but sit at home and keep it clean. And then during the pandemic, because I moved back home in 2018. If some of y'all remember, that was right before the pandemic hit. So during the pandemic, I had my unemployment and I started investing in these businesses, and I was trying to make some money, whatever, trying to get on my feet so I could move out. Hey, I just want to take a moment to pause for the cause and remind you all that the details for this episode are down below in the show notes. And also my sponsor for this episode, which is A Cup of Stars Tarot. Those details are below as well in case you want to get your own personalized tarot card reading, or you can go ahead and join me on my social media pages and you can do the collective tarot card readings that we have weekly. All right. Don't forget, look down below. Enjoy the rest of their episode. And people stopped visiting me because the house, it was one of those things where the house was good enough for people to come over, but they wouldn't come over. Right. And I don't know why they stopped. Nobody ever said, hey, we're not coming over, because they just stopped coming over. I had a cousin who would come over with her family. They would pull up in the yard. I would come to the door and they would talk to me through the door. Like, they would be in the car. I would be through the door talking to them. Or I would go outside and stand at the window of their door. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. But then when I moved, they was like, where you moved to? Don't even worry about it, because you're not coming over. Right? Also, whenever when they went on trips, they never invited me. I didn't have any money anyway. But I felt like all this talk about family, because my granny is big on, well, your family, you should hang with them. Well, your family, you should talk to them. Well, your family, call and tell them you love them. Well, your family, we need to know where you live. Well, your family, you should come over. Well, your family, and I don't know if she's having that conversation with other people. I honestly don't know because I don't hang around them anymore. However, I used to wonder, are you saying the same thing to them? Like when they go shopping, when they go out to eat, when they go out for the day, when they go to the beach for the day, when they do whatever they're doing, do you ever say, hey, call Tasha because she family? Were you ever saying that? And they were just like, no, we're not going to do it. Like, what was the conversation? Like, I don't care now. But back then, I was wondering, like, do you ever mention family when it's up to me? Because I used to cook. And they came over like one night for quesadillas. And I feel like that's it. That's it. They came over one night for quesadillas. And that was it. And then I started realizing, okay, I'm spending a lot of time by myself without people. And then I started feeling like, why? And I know it's because I didn't have money. And why I know that's one reason why I wasn't hanging around people is because I didn't have money. And then I started trying to date, and it was just people that today I wouldn't even give a second look at. And this isn't even just appearance. This is just because of the type of people they are, because of what they engage in, because of who they hang around, because of their beliefs, because of their thoughts, because of how they talk, how disrespectful they are. I know I wouldn't do that, right? Because of their living environment. You know, I went over to one guy's house. His room smelled so freaking bad. Oh, it smelled so bad. I only went over there 3 times. That was probably 3 times too many. I went over there just to hang out. And then I was just finding like, it's stinking here. I can't come back over. I had another guy who lived with his parents, but he said he had a lot of money and he said that he could move out. Like, you know, it's all this stuff that they could do, but they're not doing. It's all these things they say that they do have, but you never see it. You know what I'm saying? So back then I was dealing with the promises or the, oh, I got it like that. I'm just not trying to show it off. You know what I'm saying? The conversations that right now I'm like, nah, you got to prove that to me. You got to prove that to me. Stuff like that. Or it would be a situation where, you know, if we went out to eat and they was like, hey, let's do this afterwards. I'm like, nah, no, you know, I felt like I had to do it. I ain't had no money. You know, you date people who will give you what you need, or who would tell you they'll give you what you need, and they might string you along the whole time. You might deal with a man. You might deal with a man who's not saying he's dating anybody else, but deep down, you know, you're not the only person. You just hope that is not a wife, and you hope that there's not a girlfriend that he's hiding, and it's just him dating multiple people, but you don't know, right? And then you feel like you're being hidden. You can only be seen at a certain time of day. They might not answer your phone call. They might text you and tell you they're going to call later. I'm going to tell you something. When I was younger, when I was a teenager, and I really got into liking boys, you know, this is whenever, what can I say? This is whenever I was really telling my mama, like, I really like this guy. I really, you know what I'm saying? He's my boyfriend. He's cute, da da da. And when I was younger, we didn't have cell phones. Somebody probably had a cell phone, but it wasn't us. You know what I'm saying? And it would have been them big old box ones. You know, the ones that's about this tall with the piece hanging out for your ear, the piece hanging out for your mouth with the antenna. If anybody had a phone, it would have been one of those. And a guy might say he's going to call me. And see, I was the type of kid, when I was growing up, we lived in a neighborhood, we lived in a trailer park. So that means there were kids everywhere. And we always played. We always walked everywhere. We walked to each other's houses. We walked to places to play. We played in the road. We walked to the park. We walked to the gas station to get some treats. I mean, some snacks. We walked to the pool. We just walked everywhere. Anywhere we wanted to go, we walked. There was no problem for us to walk. We walked to the other side of, it wasn't really the other side of town. Well, it wasn't the other side of town, but it was a neighborhood that we called Crosstown, right? Crosstown and Weavertown. That's right. We used to walk back and forth to the all over, right? And so I told my mama one time, I was sitting in the house and she said, why haven't you gone outside? And I said, because I'm waiting for such and such to call me. She's like, you don't wait for nobody to call you. Go out there and have fun. If he calls you while I'm here, I'll take a message and you can call him back later, but you don't sit around and wait for no phone call. I was like, but mama, she'd be like, no, we're not doing that. No, you don't wait around. You don't wait around for people. You go out there and have fun. So I went outside and played, and I was telling my friend about it. She was like, I don't wait for no phone call neither. He just had to catch me when he catch me. I was like, what? But I thought you liked him. She's like, I do like him, but I like being outside too. And we were kids. Okay, so now fast forward to me being an adult. If there was a guy that said he would call me, a guy that said he would text me, I would try to make sure I was available. I would make sure I'm not in the shower, make sure I'm not doing anything with the music playing loud, make sure I'm not too busy, like wash dishes, my hands are wet, so I missed the call, make sure the phone is in my pocket on vibrate and the sound is up. I was doing all that stuff because I was just eager to get attention from somebody. And I did not like that feeling. But see, now that I have money, baby, if I miss your call, I can just call you back or not call you back. But if you're not giving me the energy that I'm looking for anyway, it doesn't even matter. However, I don't have to wait for anybody to call me to take me out to eat. I can feed myself. I can fix a meal at home and eat it, share it with somebody, or eat it by myself. I can go out to a restaurant and eat last minute. I can go to another city, another state, and eat. If I'm bored at home, I can go to another city or state and stay in a hotel. If I see somewhere that I want to go, I can book a flight and go. I don't have to sit around and say, "Hey, I'm trying to go somewhere. Can you take me? Hey, I'm trying to go somewhere. Will you go with me? Hey, I'm trying to go somewhere. Can you help me?" I don't have to say none of that stuff. If I see something I want, I can get it. Also, I don't have to hang around people that I'm not interested in just so I can feel involved, just so I can feel like I'm a part of something. I don't have to do that neither. And I'm going to tell you something else about not having money. Not having money will have you mad at the wrong people. Now, there are some genuine people who do try to come and help you out when you don't have money. I'm going to tell you something else. Let me stick to one thought at a time. Let me stick to one thought at a time. Whenever you don't have money, you'll get mad at the wrong people. So people who do have money, a lot of them aren't trying to belittle you and tell you, "Oh, since you ain't got it, you need to go get it." Some people are genuinely saying, "Hey, my job is hiring. I make good money. I can get you on. Just apply." And you'll get mad at them like, "No, I'm already trying. I got a business. I'm trying to run a business. I got my unemployment. I'm living off my unemployment. It just take time. God got me. I'm just gonna pray about it." You be mad at them for trying to help you. You don't be mad at the people that saying, "Hey, I'm gonna call you in 20 minutes so I can take you out to eat. I'm sorry I got caught up. I'm gonna have to call you back. Hey, we're gonna do it another time. You don't wait 3 hours." You don't get mad at them people. You don't get mad at people that talk trash to you in your face and tell you nothing. You don't get mad at them people. You get mad at the people who got something and who's trying to let you have something too, right? Now, I wasn't one of them people, but I will tell you the job that I have now, right before I applied for this job, I had a Chevy Avalanche I had gotten in 2016. I paid it off early. I paid it off like 4 months early, right? When I had that Chevy Avalanche, I had already paid for my tickets. I'd already paid for my flight and my hotel to New Orleans because I was going to um, Essence Festival for the first time. I'd already paid for my first class tickets. I'd already paid for this very nice hotel. I had set money aside for the Uber to get from the airport to the hotel. And I set aside money to get an Uber from the hotel back to the airport when it was time to go. Because where the hotel was, I don't know if you ever been to New Orleans before, but where my hotel was, like up and up a couple blocks, was everything. It was Bourbon Street. It was the stadium. It was the steamboat. It's not a steamboat. The boat. The boat that you can have lunch. Everything was within walking distance. And before I had booked the hotel, I always like to look and see, well, how close is this? How close is that? And pretty much everything I looked for or looked at was within 20 minutes walking, right? The thing about New Orleans is while you're walking, you're going to see places that you want to stop. You're going to see attractions that you want to pay attention to, right? So I had bought or I had paid for the hotel. I had paid for the flight. I had my money set aside. I was ready to go. I believe my flight was supposed to leave that Wednesday. Well, that Saturday, my Chevy Avalanche decides to break down. Keep in mind, during this time, I'm still on unemployment, but I had started a vending machine business. So I had money from my vending machines, right? And my truck messed up on a Saturday. On that Saturday, I had to pay a tow truck to tow my truck from the highway to my mechanic. And this was a Saturday, so he couldn't get to it Saturday because he had already closed. And that cost like $100 something for the tow. Now, with the insurance company that I was with at the time, they would usually reimburse you for a tow, but they weren't going to reimburse me before Wednesday, right? If they would reimburse you with a check, they had done it before, they reimburse you with a check. Well, for me to go ahead and try to file a claim, I wasn't going to get the check and get the check cashed or deposited before I left Wednesday. So squash that. That's like $150-ish, $150 out of my money for New Orleans, right? Um, so long story short, I get somebody to take me to the airport because I don't have my truck anymore. So I get to the airport, and whenever I come back, I go to this this thing. It's like a parade, like a festival. That's what it's, the festival downtown in my hometown, right? But so when I went down there was a table set up for the job that I have now. And this woman was like, "Hey, how you been?" And I was like, "I'm doing good, whatever." And she said, "What you been up to?" And I said, "Well, you saw on Facebook that my truck messed up." And she said, "Yeah, you should come work with us." And I said, "Now, if my truck is messed up, how am I going to work with you?" And she said, "If you get the job, she said, "If you get hired, I'll get you to the job." And that's exactly what happened. That was over 3 years ago. And I've been working here ever since, and I've been doing very, very good. That is just an example of whenever you're down, there's always somebody who is ready to help you. It's just you have to be accepting. You have to be open minded. You have to be ready for it too. Because there's nothing like trying to help somebody who was like, "No, no, 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 but I can't, and I can't, and I can't." All these excuses, like that's why people don't want to help y'all sometimes, and that's why you stay poor. That's why you stay low in the dumps, because you won't take the help that's being given to you. But being poor and not having money will have you mad at the wrong people. It'll have you upset at the wrong people. It'll have you blocking the wrong people on social media. It'll have you shooting the messenger whenever something good comes your way. When you don't have money, you'll start hanging with the wrong people. When you don't have money, you'll start letting yourself go. Sometimes you can get a little delusional because you start talking to yourself and you start talking about the things you want to do. But something else about not having money is you see your limitations. Okay. When you don't have money, you start telling yourself, "I would if I had this." And sometimes we have now, I'm gonna tell you something. Now, with the way people are getting paid to just be on social media just to tell their story, excuse me. The way people are getting paid on social media to tell their story, even if you don't make thousands of dollars, you can make some money just being on social media telling your story. You can just get on camera and make some money. It's not even one of those things where it takes money to make money. Just go out there and do it. So this is different. And something else, people who are able-bodied, okay, because I'm in the situation I'm in now, I don't see how people are not making money. And I'm gonna tell y'all something else. If you want to make some money, go ahead and fill out the application, put in your skills, and remember, whenever you get a job, they're going to train you anyway. I think sometimes we have the mindset of, "I can't get the job because I don't know what I'm doing. I can't get the job because I've never done that before." Them people going to train you anyway. Tell them what you can do, tell them what you're willing to do, and tell them when you can start and let them train you to do the job. Okay? But for anybody out there right now who was listening to this, if you've gotten this far in the episode, I just want to say, even though you may be in a place of scarcity whenever it comes to finances, if you are in a place where you're trying to get on your feet, try your best not to settle for mediocre or settle for things that you wouldn't settle for if you were not in your position, because you don't want to get so used to that you can't even get up and do whatever it is needs to be done. Okay, don't get so stuck on food stamps that you feel like, "Oh, well, I got a couple $100, I can eat." Yeah, you can eat at home, or you can sell your food stamps, which is illegal, and you don't want to do that. There's always something better out there. However, if the opportunity comes for you to work at a job that's going to still have you poor, but take away your benefits, think twice about that. Okay. I will say that. Reach for the stars, go above and beyond. And something else, whenever you get into a position to make more money, be ready to make more money. Don't take your old habits with you. If you're one of those people who are always late, I'm still working on that. If you're one of those people who are bad with time, if you're one of those people who are who don't take care of yourself, you don't get up and brush your teeth or do your hair or try to smell good or take a shower, get out of the habit of doing that, because whenever you start making money, You want to look like you want money, look like you came to make money and be somebody. Don't look like you're still poor. Don't do that. Okay? Don't do that. All right? Don't let those bad habits make you lose a good thing, because I think that whenever you don't have money, whatever poor habits you pick up, you might be afraid that you're going to take that into your new lifestyle, which is very, very understandable. It's very understandable, okay? But I just came to say the less money you have, the worse your decisions are. Okay? If you're one of those people who are living in somebody else's house by yourself, clean up, keep the house up, and do enough to where you show them, I'm grateful to be here. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Get yourself together, get on your feet, get your money, and get out. If you're one of those people who lives in a house with people, I don't know. Same thing. Do your part, get your money, stack it up. Don't misspend it. Don't get too crazy with it. Get on your feet, get out. Okay? So I just wanted to say that today, because I know it's a lot of people out here who are thinking things are not going to get better. They can get better. You just have to change your mindset and stop settling, because everything that glitters ain't gold. And there's going to be a lot of glittery stuff that's going to come to you when people know that you're very, very vulnerable. Okay? So that's my topic for today. My name is Latasha with Girlfriend Let Me Tell You, the podcast, because I have something to say.